What is up, YouTube? How you doing? Momentum Productions here. I have a little bit of like a sore throat for an odd reason. I left my fan on last night, and I think because all of us sleep with our mouths open, it dries out your throat. So my throat's a little sore. But anyway, that's besides the point. Let's talk about drones. New technology. Um, Ever since 2013, the drone market has been exploding. It's seriously been crazy to see. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to talk about my favorite drones, and even if you're not necessarily a professional pilot, I still feel like that a drone is a good thing to have in your arsenal of camera equipment. Um, Basically, a drone gives you a different kind of perspective. People are always used to seeing stuff from the ground. We are now wanting to see stuff from different perspectives. I'm sure that eventually we're going to see a lot of stuff underwater, but most of us live on land, so that's not going to be the case. So not only do we want to see things from the ground, we want to see things from the air. And a drone does just that, and I think it's fantastic how the drone market is finally emerging. Um, I honestly wish that this technology came out years ago, but of course we weren't there yet. Really interesting thing. Right now I have three drones. I have the Yuneec Typhoon H, I have the DJI Phantom 4, and I have the DJI Inspire 1. And I will be releasing a video next week reviewing the Phantom 4 and the Yuneec Typhoon H, and which one I prefer that you buy. Uh, but I think it'll be pretty clear which one you should buy. It's not difficult to make a decision after you watch this review video, because I go over the specifics. Not only I go over basically 6 different things. I go over the unboxing. I go over the setup, the ease of use, the flight characteristics, picture quality. I think that's 6. So in that video, I go over all of that, and all drones come equipped with 4K cameras. Now, 4 times the resolution of 1080p, meaning that the expectation is that if we zoom in 4 times on 4K, we should still get 1080p picture quality. Well, here's the thing. A lot of these so-called 4K cameras aren't really 4K. It's basically a really, 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 really compressed version of 4K. If you notice, some professional cameras shoot in 4K only when you use a recorder. And an external recorder, what that does is it allows you to shoot raw, uncompressed 4K. You need a lot of processing power and a lot of memory to do that, which is why recorders are necessary. It's basically an external computer that takes raw footage and raw images from the sensor, from the camera sensor, and it dumps it onto an SSD drive. So that's why DJI came out with the X5 RAW camera. This is uncompressed 4K footage. You can't get anything better. There's nothing better. No, you can't get better picture quality. When you're coming down to raw, okay, the only thing you can compare with, let's say, a red camera is just the quality of the sensor. So it's going to be different sharpness, different that, different that. Noise doesn't really come into play because we are exporting this stuff in raw. There is no compression, which means there's going to be no noisy footage. It's raw, straight out of the sensor. So when we talk about consumer drones like the Yuneec Typhoon H, let's say, and we shoot a video in 4K and you zoom in 4 times, you are not going to get clean footage because it is not really in 4K. You cannot compare a Typhoon H camera to the DJI X5R because one shoots in uncompressed 4K and the other one shoots in highly compressed 4K. Same thing like if I pull out an iPhone, right? They advertise the iPhone 6 as being in 4K resolution. However, it is not really in 4K resolution. When they say 4K, that means you can blow it up on a screen and it will fit the screen up if the screen is 4K. But if I zoom in 4 times on a specific image or a frame, you are going to get very compressed, grainy looking footage. So that's the common misconception people have about 4K resolution, is that, oh, if it's 4K, that means I can zoom in 4 times and I can still get a 1080p footage or 1080p image. That is not true, because all these companies, they're making very, very cheap like Apple iPhone. I love my iPhone. I think it's the greatest phone in the world. But when they say it's a 4K camera, it is not an organic 4K camera. It's just a highly hyped up camera that has massive amounts of compression. So don't believe everything that's advertised to you because it's not necessarily true. 4K on consumer electronics is not 4K. It's compressed, 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 compressed 4K. Alright, Mr. Turk Akbay, let me answer your question. Do most of the people, not professionals, even utilize 4K from the Inspire? Oh yeah, I am a professional, but also consumers, they will just shoot in 4K just because it's 4K. When you upload stuff 4K, people are hyped up, crazy about 4K, and then people are more likely to click on that footage and watch it in 4K. The truth of the matter is, most of the population doesn't even have 1080p television. So by the time we will start using 4K, a lot of us probably won't even be around because 4K is so far beyond. Like maybe we'll be like 50, like, I'm in my 20s. Maybe I'll be like 50 or 60, probably already retired, when they start actually broadcasting TV in really good 4K quality. DirecTV I know already does that, but it's so expensive. They only have a few channels that do that, maybe a few sports channels, but it is so expensive to broadcast in 4K. Remember when the first 1080p TV came out? How long did it take for TVs to start, or TV stations to start broadcasting in 1080p? It took them so many years. And now that, most of us are really, really happy with 1080p. So if you give a client 4K footage and you give a client 1080p footage, they're not going to know the difference. I promise you. 99% of the time, they're not going to know the difference between 4K and 1080p. They just want it high def. And there was a time, maybe last year, when people couldn't really tell the difference between high def and standard def. A lot of people don't really focus on the sharp, like the quality of the image. They just focus on everything as a whole, if that makes sense. Hey man, I'm addicted to drones too. I have my Phantom 4 here charging. I want to go for a flight in a little bit. You can see the battery charging here. I have a video that I posted on the DJI Phantom 4 owners group on Facebook, and it was really cool because I started filming from inside the house, and I took off all the way into the mountains. So I started from inside, and then I boom pushed out to the outside into the mountains. So that was really, really cool. Let me grab the Phantom 4. I want to talk about how it works. So you guys, let's talk about like the engineering aspect, like the oops. So let's grab it here. Okay. So here's the Phantom 4. It's very, very, very cool. High quality, compact. Um, basically, the ability to fly indoors without. So here's the thing: when drones first came out, they had a very basic flight controller, flight CPU, IMU, um, and they had what is called a GPS antenna. A GPS antenna would connect to our GPS satellites, and it would use satellites to maintain uh, um, pinpoint accuracy location, right? So as drones started developing, DJI was the first consumer drone company to come out what is called VPS, Vision Positioning Systems. Basically uses sonar. Sonar basically is sound waves to bounce off of solid objects. So basically we have a sender and a receiver. So in order to have a properly functioning what is it called? Positioning system, not positioning system, but ultrasound system. You have to have an emitting sound wave and a receiving. So if you emit something, there has to be a receiver as well. Otherwise, if you just send out a sound wave, it's going to bounce and just dissipate. You need a receiver to collect that information on that sound wave. So that's how it works. Basically, the Phantom 4 emits sound waves and it bounces off of a solid object, and then the second sensor here, which is the receiver of the sound wave, gets back that sound wave, and it's able to detect the strength of that sound wave, and the strength of the sound wave is converted into altitude. How high is it above from the ground? So the new VPS systems here work up to 10 meters, or about 33 feet. So you could be up to 33 high foot ceiling, right? And the sound waves will still be bouncing off the floor, and you'll still be data just from the sound waves. Now, this drone also has a pressure sensor, so it can detect altitude from the pressure sensor. But the VPS system here uses ultrasonic waves for more accurate altitude reading. Now, that's just the ultrasound, okay? Ultrasonic system. There's also an optical system here. Uses 3D cameras to detect, to track the ground's movement. So let's say you're flying over a huge checkerboard floor. All right, the cameras here detect a pattern, and they take a still image of that pattern. So if the drone tends to drift away without user input on the remote controller, the drone will correct itself because it remembers the last image that it took of the floor, and it will fly back until the live feed matches the still picture taken. So it corrects itself from drifting. So this is one of the most powerful sensors I've ever seen on a consumer drone, because you are able to fly indoors without drifting. And as if you already know, you can't use GPS indoors because you have a ceiling, and that blocks satellite connection. So this is why VPS is so important, and why a lot of people are able to use the Phantom 4 indoors in high ceilings, in big rooms, because of the VPS system on the drone. It is able to track the ground, and it is able to detect where the ground is. So the drone always knows if it's going to be if it's too close to the floor or if it's far away from the floor, because of these sensors here. All right, that's just the downward-facing sensors. This technology was also on the Phantom 3, but on the Phantom 4, it is 3 times as more powerful. Okay? In the front, we have something completely new called obstacle avoidance, which uses also similar optical sensors on the bottom. It uses 3D cameras to determine depth, and it uses 3D cameras to avoid obstacles. So basically, it uses what we call perspective visioning. Perspective vision. Okay, imagine this: you have 2 cameras on the drone, right? Your eyes. We have 2 eyes. Why do we have 2 eyes? Because with one eye, it is very difficult to sense depth. With 2 eyes, you are able to sense depth a lot better, which is why 3D cameras were made, because they give the illusion of depth. So these 3D cameras here, that's why there's 2 and not just 1, because it senses a 3D environment and it senses depth. That's why the Phantom 4 can avoid obstacles, because it can tell obstacles, what's behind something, and then fly around it. So that's how those sensors work, and this is what makes it extremely powerful. When I first got the Phantom 4, I actually needed to calibrate it. I needed to calibrate the optics, the optical sensors. So the DJI, DJI made a really cool app that you plug in your Phantom 4 into the computer, and you can calibrate the sensors by they present a checkerboard on your on the app in your computer, and you calibrate the sensors by moving the drone up and down, left and right, and then tilting it. And it was just a really cool thing to see because you were able to see on the screen, on your computer screen, what the cameras were seeing on the Phantom 4. Okay, so Vortex Drone Services. I crashed my Inspire 1 Pro, made it clear. Drone Nerds takes 3 weeks to fix. I need a second. Was thinking about the Phantom 4. I have also an Inspire 1, and I'm so sorry that you crashed the Inspire 1 Pro because that's a lot of money. The Phantom 4 is a great backup. I love my Phantom 4, and I got it specifically so I can fly it indoors. Like, I've gotten a few requests, a few job requests asking me to film a hockey game indoors, and I told them I can't do it because I don't have the proper drone for that. I only had the Inspire at the time. So now that I have the Phantom 4, I am not going to turn down any indoor shoots, aerial shoots, because I have the technology for it now. I have the gear. So the Phantom 4 is definitely something like that. With the Phantom 4, I'm able to fly in extremely narrow areas that are indoors without the fear of crashing, and I think that's fantastic. So Phantom 4, excellent backup. Excellent backup. When you look at the Typhoon H, you don't have any. You have very old technology. For instance, they only use forward collision system using ultrasound or ultra, what is it called? Sound waves. So I think it's kind of old technology. The new technology is using optics, and I think it's fantastic how DJI just slapped and said, hey, now you have an anti-collisioning system. 3D cameras in the front, 3D cameras on the bottom, along with sound waves. So I think that's something very, just completely, like, amazing. I love it. And what they did with the Phantom 4 battery, which I haven't seen on any other drone battery, is that they included ventilation holes. So if you're a drone owner, you already know how hot batteries can get. Batteries can get extremely, extremely hot, and DJI knew this. So they actually included ventilation holes in the battery, and that's pretty awesome. So that's what's happening. So on the Phantom 4, what we have here, we have what is called a dual IMU and a dual compass system. The dual IMU stands for inertial measurement unit. So that is what detects movement, and so those two systems there. So if one IMU fails, the second IMU will take over. So it's a great redundancy feature on the system. Also, it has a dual compass. Why do drones need a compass? Because drones need to know their orientation, and a compass does an excellent job of detecting orientation. So there's two compasses on the Phantom 4. If one compass fails, the second one will take over and automatically correct itself. So that's excellent redundancy. Let's see. Okay, so a lot of people have been asking me, hey Josh, is the Phantom 4 better than the Phantom 3? I'm going to say yes, a way better. The camera is slightly better. You probably will not really see that much of a difference, but when it comes to safety and speed and power and innovation, the Phantom 4 just has a massive amount of features. For instance, it has what is called Active Track. Now, what Active Track does is that, with these DJI products, we use our phone to see, or phone or tablet to see what's going on through the camera. So let's say I want to track a car, right? Let's say I want the drone to fly after a car. I can simply, you know, draw with my finger the subject that I want the drone to follow, press OK, and the drone will just autonomously follow the car. I don't need to do no controlling on the RC whatsoever. The drone will just follow the car. And not only will the drone follow the car, so will the camera. The camera will always properly frame itself so that the car is in the shot. So that's something very, very important. That's something that other drones can't do. And that is something that DJI was the first to do. So it's fantastic. So Active Track is one of those features. The second feature that the Phantom 4 is Tap to Fly. So let's say there's like a cool statue in the shot, right? Far away though, far away. And I'm just too lazy, you know, I don't want to focus on flying the drone. I want it to just autonomously go to that statue. I can just tap it on my screen, press go, and the drone will fly. So while the drone is flying, I can focus on the camera moves. So it's really not about flying drones anymore. It's about controlling the camera. We are at that point where flying a drone is not as important as controlling the camera. So that is what DJI did. They want less accidents with, pilot error, and they want more creativity. They want better image quality. They want you to be more cinematic. Again, this is a flying camera. They want you to rely less on flying and more on cinematography. So that is why they created, it's almost, it's basic. It's an autonomous. It's a drone. Okay, drone is another word for an aerial autonomous vehicle. Well, that's what the Phantom 4 is. It's very autonomous. Even the DJI Inspire 1, even though it doesn't have any, obstacle avoidance system, the DJI Inspire 1 is also semi-autonomous because it can do waypoints. You can draw out specific points on a map, and the drone will fly to them, and you can focus really, really hard on the camera moves and what's being captured. Okay, Vortex Drone Services backup. So you favor Inspire 1 Pro? Can you clarify on that? Thanks, Vortex Drone Services. I appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon. Elliot, is the DJI Inspire 1 RAW good? I got one yesterday. Do you have any tips? Elliot, you got the best drone on the market. You have the Inspire 1 RAW, man. You have the best camera that's ever hit the sky, basically, for the price that you paid. Let me tell you what the RAW can do that no other camera does in prosumer drones. You are able to capture raw images directly from the sensor onto an SSD. Do you know what that means? That means you have no compression. That is organic 4K. So when you have no compression in 4K images, that means in post-processing, you are able to zoom in 400% and get that, crisp, clean image and export it in 1080p. So 4K is 4 times the resolution of 1080p, right? So that means that you can zoom in on a 4K image 4 times and still get a 1080p image. Okay? So remember that in 4K RAW, you are given so many opportunities to do so many different things when it comes to zooming in and panning and stuff. You have no idea the amount of power that you have with the Inspire 1 RAW. It is an excellent, excellent choice. It's expensive, but it's worth every penny. So yes, you do have the Inspire 1 RAW, and it is an excellent, excellent, excellent thing to have. Elliot, another question. Do you have any tips to fly? I tried today, but it was really scary, and I'm just 13. Elliot, you have the DJI Inspire 1 RAW, and you're only 13 years old? Don't fly it just yet, okay? You need to buy what is called a Blade Nano. It's a $100 quadcopter. It's tiny. It fits in the palm of your hand. And what happens is, if you practice on those little Blade Nanos, you really start getting used to flight characteristics of quadcopters, right? You get used to, just controlling it. And there's no GPS system on those things. So it will drift. You have to learn how to compensate for drift. You have to learn how to avoid obstacles. You have to, it really teaches you how to be really quick with your reflexes, because on the Inspire 1 Raw, you do not have obstacle avoidance. So if you're coming up close to like a wall or a tree, you have to be able to act fast without panicking. And that's what these Blade Nanos do. They really test your skills to avoid obstacles and how to get used to flight characteristics of quadcopters. So I think that's really, really awesome that you have the Inspire 1 Raw, but do not fly it yet until you are able to pick up a Blade Nano and fly that thing perfectly, because the Inspire 1 Raw is just way too much money to be in the hands of a novice flyer. Okay. So I would really just focus on your practicing skills. Okay. No worries, Elliot. I hope that can help you out. Let's answer some more questions here. So I covered. So the Phantom 4 uses GPS, and I also have the Inspire 1, by the way. So I know the Inspire 1 really well. I've had it for almost 2 years already. So the Phantom 4. It comes with an aluminum underbelly with a completely covered up gimbal. So it's really, what I really like about it, it feels like a tank. It feels tough. It feels rough. So I really like the quality on it. Elliot, so what drones do I have? I have the Yuneec Typhoon H, I have the DJI Inspire 1, and I have the DJI Phantom 4. The Yuneec Typhoon H is a hexacopter, meaning that it has 6 rotors, so if one rotor fails, then 5 are left, and you can still fly on 5. But yeah, I will be releasing a video of me comparing the DJI Phantom 4 to the Yuneec Typhoon H, because they are in a similar realm. The DJI Inspire 1 is a professional grade system, and that's used in a different realm. The Phantom 4 and the Yuneec Typhoon H are priced similarly, so that's why I decided to compare them. And that review video should be coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. If you're not on my newsletter, subscribe to my newsletter here on my website. Here, let me give you my website, and I will send you an email of when my drone comparison video comes out. Okay? Right. Any last questions? Any last questions before I go? If you're looking to buy the Phantom 4, don't hesitate. Buy it. There's a lot of people saying, oh, propellers get in the shots. That's not necessarily true. If you angle the camera slightly down, you really can't tell. The propellers don't really get in the shot if you're flying this thing right. So I wouldn't really worry about the propellers getting in the shot. Honestly, like, the quality of this thing is so great. It's really tough plastic. It's a really nice shell. The underbelly's composite aluminum, and it feels tough. So I like it. And on top of that, what the Phantom 4 has that the Phantom 3 doesn't is that it has a reinforced gimbal. If you take a look at the Phantom 3, you'll notice that on the gimbal, it only has an arm on one side. The Phantom 4 has an arm on 2 sides. So, a lot of people were complaining about a crooked horizon. This solves that issue because it supports the camera from 2 different sides instead of just one. So that's a really good thing for DJI to do. Is they listen and they do what is best. I've been DJI is great. My first quadcopter from them was the Inspire 1. So I fell in love with that thing. I used to fly it hours and hours every day. I was practicing on that thing. Viresh Pinto, what is the best camera setting for the P4? I like to shoot in D-Log. I think it's D-Log or normal picture setting. And sometimes I shoot in manual, sometimes I don't. It depends on how bright it is outside. If it's very, very bright, I'll shoot in... Do I usually shoot in... Yeah, I'll shoot in manual if it's really bright outside, increase the shutter speed. If I'm going from inside to outside, I'll leave the camera mode on automatic since I need to focus more on flying than the camera settings. So, and automatic does actually a pretty good job. I posted a video on the DJI Phantom 4 owners group on Facebook on me flying from inside to outside, and the automatic settings did a really good job of compensating for very bright light. So, yeah, and so that's what I think is the best camera setting for the Phantom 4. Don't forget about that. D-Log and normal are my favorite. You don't want to use any other picture settings like, I think it was called Vibrant or something like that, because that oversaturates the colors. And if you oversaturate the colors and import it into like Final Cut or Premiere or whatever editing system you use, it's going to be very difficult to change the colors back to normal if you really don't like the vibrancy. So I would keep an eye out for that as well. So shoot in either D-Log or normal. You want to get natural colors. That way, when you import it into Final Cut, let's say, you will get options to color correct. All right. So don't forget that. All right, guys. Any more questions? Any more questions? Let me take a few more questions before signing off. I know you guys have some questions, especially for people who are just getting into drones. Don't be shy. So, the Phantom 4 is probably my new favorite consumer drone. Prosumer, Inspire 1 by far. The Inspire 1 is also huge. It's a big drone. That's something I would probably not want to fly inside. And so just keep that in mind. I tried flying the Inspire 1 indoors one time, and I've almost had it put a hole in my wall because the propellers are 13 inches, so, and the motors are extremely powerful. They can easily slice off a finger, and they can easily go through drywall like butter. So not a good, and it's a wide drone. It's a lot wider than the Phantom 4. So the Phantom 4 I feel like is perfect for flying indoors. So if you have like if you're like flying in one of those old churches that have the high ceilings, the Phantom 4 would be perfect for that. So yeah, that's what I recommend. So if you're looking into the Phantom 4 and you can afford it, buy it. If you're deciding whether you should get the Phantom 3 or the Phantom 4, get the Phantom 4. If you can't afford it yet, save or open up a credit card, because the Phantom 4 is miles ahead of the Phantom 3. Trust me. When it comes to flying it, when it comes to features, it's miles ahead of the Phantom 3. I missed the first bit of broadcast on the P4. Do you video in 4K or 1080p? I video in 4K. Just in case I want to zoom in a little bit, I get that flexibility while shooting in 4K and not 1080p. Now if I want to shoot in slow motion, then yes, I will downgrade to 1080p and shoot at 60 FPS. But that is rarely the case. I rarely shoot in slow motion when I use aerial footage, because I never really need it. Never really need slow motion. So keep that in mind. Any last questions before I sign off, you guys? This has been an awesome live chat. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Any last questions before I sign off? No? Okay, well, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to start doing more of these live streams so I can answer more of your filmmaking questions and drone questions, technology questions. So I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. And stay tuned for the next live stream. Again, if you are not subscribed to my newsletter on my website, subscribe immediately, because I give away a lot of awesome information on filmmaking. My website is capturethemomentum.com, and I cannot wait to see what you create. And stay tuned for my review video of the Phantom 4 versus the Typhoon H, the unique Typhoon H. So stay tuned for that. It should be released. And if you're on my newsletter, I'll let you know when it is released. All right? Well, I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend.